June 2024. This is the S&P 500 E-Futures Mini on the 2000 tick chart using NinjaTrader 8. This is what the chart looked like today. At 5:30 Pacific Standard, which is about right here, there was one piece of economic data that came out, was the core PCE Price Index. I guess it kind of caused this sell-off to occur. Other than that, it was kind of a slow-moving day. There weren't too many setups that I found, and I took a total of 2 trades. The first trade, I'll admit, was a little more aggressive. And then the second trade, I thought it was a good trade, but in hindsight, after further review, I don't think it was that good a trade. But in real time, I suspect I would have taken it again. Now that I know, I think I'd probably be a little more wiser, be a little more patient. So one win here, one loss here. There was one leg down. Inside, there was a leg down, consolidation, another leg down, another consolidation, another leg down. So we'll get into the trades right now. Pre-market, I was thinking we were just going to be a range day because in the pre-market, see, it went up 2 legs, consolidated, actually tried 2 attempts down, pushed up again, consolidated, pushed up, then it came down on what I think was this yellow down channel. First it was this orange channel, broke out, tested, made a new low. I found a potential yellow down channel. The prices are continuing to move down, and right here, it hits the pre-market low. It kind of creates a bottoming pattern, and it starts flashing back up. So definitely at this point in time, in real time, I was thinking, oh, it might be in a range day today. It's a pretty decent range. It's about 25, 26 points. Prices move up on this green up channel. Don't see any clean second entries. There's not even a second entry short yet until you get to about right here. This is your first second entry short. Then you have a second entry, first entry short. Then you have a second entry short here. This isn't a good signal bar. You would not have thought to go short because the break of the green channel, you're thinking it might make another push up. Excuse me. Flashes down, bounces, EMA holds, and starts creeping back up. There's a new low here. It's a first entry short. You have a second entry short here, but the signal bar isn't very good. Starts moving up on this yellow up channel. So I thought this is a spike in the channel. And now I'm expecting one leg up, either a small little push or another push up to about right up here where I suspect the pre-market highs was. Now later, I drag the pre-market high up to here to kind of designate the high of day. But at least where this blue line is, I'm expecting prices to get back up there. Prices flash up. I'm not really sure what caused this to occur. I drew this yellow up channel because it looked like it supported pretty well here. Good resistance here. There's an overshoot. Prices came back in. And it starts flashing back up. And now it looks like it's fitting in this orange up channel. I did try to find a bigger type of channel, but nothing really quite fit that well. So I just kind of played these smaller channels. Looked like it was another spike in a channel. It's staying pretty far from the EMA. We're clearly on a bullish bias. Prices then move up. There's no clean second entries that I could find. These candles are really small and tight. It hits this top, which corresponds to, there was no previous high, so I dragged it from here up to here. It looked like there's some kind of resistance being encountered here. Prices move down, it breaks below the EMA. You technically have a first entry short. You technically have a second entry short, but here you would not have really known to go long, even though it's a break of this orange down channel. You're expecting prices to come back down, but it doesn't. Flashes up, hits the top here twice now, and it comes back down. Hits it again, so I'm thinking there's a triple test here. Potential trading range, but there's no setup to go short. Consolidates. You do have one leg down push, another leg down, breaks out of this previous support that held 4 touches previously. Breaks out. Now I did mark this, but I didn't really call it any trade because this is one leg down, one attempt up, break, test the new low. So it's actually first entry long, pullback. You have a very tiny second entry long, then followed by a higher low by 1 tick. I was debating this because in real time, as this was forming and before this candle expired and moved to the next one, I was thinking, is there a trade here? When it closed strongly, I suspected there might have been a trade here because it could have been a failed breakout of this trading range. It's a good signal bar, higher low confirmation, maybe enough to get a 1-point scalp. Looked like it would have worked, yeah. So I kind of overanalyzed it. Plus the risk on this was only about 7 ticks, so it probably was definitely worth a trade. Prices then move up. You have a new low, first entry short, second entry short. This isn't a good bar to go short. No lower highs made. Purple down channel doesn't exist yet. Prices start moving back down. You have a first entry long, second entry long. Here, you're not thinking of going long. So when it confirms second entry long, there really is no trade here. Prices then continue moving down. I find this yellow down channel, it fits pretty nicely, bounces off. As a breakout here, I'm expecting a test of this low. Consolidates, is congested. There's just doji candles here. Prices start moving down. It now moves back into this yellow down channel. Kind of bounces. This purple down channel still doesn't exist yet because I wasn't really quite sure there was an overarching trend going down yet. So I was still working with these smaller short trend channels. So you do have a new low, first entry short. Technically, I have a second entry here short here, but it looks like things are just consolidating. Then it pushes down and through. There's no touch of the EMA so far, so clearly there's a bearish bias. Price is kind of finding a localized bottom and starts reversing back up. Your first entry short. Here you have a second entry short. Now, normally this might have been a decent setup if this is a more bearish bar, because it looks like, prices are coming down. At this point, I did draw this purple down channel. I had one touch, two touch, and I had these two touches here. So I don't trust this purple down channel yet because there's not a third confirmation, but it is acting as a guideline that prices are kind of trending down this way. You don't necessarily need this purple down channel to tell you that. It's pretty obvious, but I'm using it as guidelines to see if there is a potential trade off of this key entry point, but I would need a lot more. I couldn't just rely this as a strong key entry point to take a trade off of, so it'd act as a supplemental key entry point. We have a new low, first entry short, second entry short. I needed the signal bar to be a little stronger, and when it confirms the second entry short, it closed strongly, then definitely you don't want to go short now. If you went in on this trade, you'd be sitting through this noise. Depending on where you kept your stop, if you kept it short here, you probably would have gotten stopped out here. Definitely by here. Prices then continue moving, kind of chop sideways. Prices then fall into what I think is a larger trading range, which actually sets up for my first trade. So I saw this as actually had this a little lower. I actually had this about right here initially. So I thought this was my trading range. I saw this as a failed breakout. Saw a failed breakout coming back in. It failed to make a corresponding failed breakout on this side. Saw first entry short, pull back, second entry short, another failed breakout attempt. At this point, I was thinking this is potentially a triple test. 1, 2, 3. It's a strong close. It's a failed second entry short, first entry short, second entry short. Although you're playing range rules, excuse me, if you zoom in, you are looking at smaller trend lines and you're looking for just two legs. So even though it's range rules, I did see a potential two legs up, one push up. It did break out of this orange channel and made a new high. So this trade definitely is more aggressive, definitely more risky. Now in hindsight, I think I should have skipped this trade because the risk to enter on this trade, which is what I did, so you can see I entered one tick above. This is a pretty large candle. This is a 375, so it's about a 17-point candle, and I'm only going for 1 point, so this is definitely a very big risk to reward. So in hindsight, this wasn't a good setup to have taken. It was a little aggressive. I should have skipped it, but nevertheless, that was my thinking process at the time. I was lucky this time that I got a profit and I was able to get out. And prices kept moving. So it creates a lower high here, moving back into range. I thought this is a pretty decent setup. The only issue that I had with it and made an almost trade is at the top of the range, it's moving back down. The signal bar is pretty decent, but it's also a very large candle. The only way to really take this trade confidently would be on the engulfing. But even if it's engulfing, this candle here is 10 ticks, and you have to keep it one tick above the initial, so it'd be actually above here. So you have to probably enter right around the middle of this green bar. And I remember watching this candle, it actually flashed down, bounced around, and I'm not confident that I would have even gotten picked up here unless I increased my risk and actually, kept it one tick below here. But that would really, really increase the risk more than I would want on this particular setup. But I did see that it was a potential test. Another key entry point is a potential resistance hitting on this purple down channel. So it's an almost trade for me. If you're more aggressive, probably a decent trade to take. I was also concerned, definitely after the close, you don't want to take this trade because you're going to run into this support here. Prices bounce around. If you're in this trade, looks like if you took it down here, if I took it down here, I'd still be in this trade. And I kept my stop up here. I did sit through this noise, and then probably around here, I would have gotten out. Now I saw another setup here, but I thought this was actually a better setup. It's a lower high, so it's a high here, first entry long, second entry long, third entry long, but it doesn't really matter. It is a lower high, the setup. I like that the EMA, even though it's flat, it flashed down below all this previous support. So this is a strong bearish sell-off, pushing through all this previous support. And although it didn't break below the more localized low here, it matched. So when you see this, the next stop looks like it could come down to here, and this is where the support would be. So this is, I think, a possible trade here. Plus the risk, although it's rather large, 3 points, it felt a little bit better than this trade. And I like that it moved up one tick and then flushed down and engulfed it. Plus it had a better close than this candle. And this candle has a pretty decent close, but it's just too big. Prices then continue moving down, goes down this orange down channel, breaks, starts moving down on this green down channel. This is another trade that I marked. I saw it's a new low, first entry short, second entry short, potential second entry short failure, but it also has a new high here, first entry long, second entry long. Now, second entry long is confirmed here. Second entry short is here, and the second entry short technically hasn't failed yet. So I thought this was potentially a trade. What I really needed was the close to be above the EMA to give me confidence. But it is a second entry short below the EMA, which isn't a great setup, and a second entry long below the EMA, which both of these should be above to give you more confidence. So something like this, you need to wait for a higher low. But it's something I did see and I saw in real time, and I was tempted to take it, but I didn't. You don't really get a higher low. So, this trade, unless you're super aggressive and you just took on a little more risk, it wouldn't have happened. Price then continue moving down. Here, I noticed that the purple channel is holding pretty nicely now. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4 confirmations, 1, 2, 3 confirmations. I like what I see so far. I saw first entry short, push up, second entry short. Second entry short, unfortunately, this isn't a good signal bar. It's an almost trade. It does have 2 nice legs up, hits the EMA resistance, and it gets a push back down. It is a break of this orange down channel, made 1 attempt down, potentially a second attempt down. Now, this candle, even though it's green, there would have been a trade if it didn't close above the EMA, and ideally, you want a red candle, but if it was still green, you could have considered a trade, in my opinion. If it closed below the EMA, then the EMA is kind of holding prices down. Plus, there is a small, tighter shortened trend channel right here. So it broke and tested the new high, so prices could be coming back down. So this is actually the follow-up. This is where I take my second trade, and unfortunately, it was a losing trade. This is a push down, made 1 attempt down, second attempt down. Now, this technically isn't really a clean lower high. I needed to make this a better entry, would have been if this candle closed at the very bottom, at the very least, or ideally made 1 tick lower than this one. Then it would have been a more decent lower high. So as you can see, I took a one pretty much at the lows, hoping to get a 1-point scalp, consolidates, and then pushes up and stops me where my stop is 1 tick above these 2 guys. So in real time, it made sense to me, but I was a little more aggressive. I didn't think about, having this tick 1 tick below to have a nice, clean, confirmed lower high and momentum coming back down, because it looked like it was struggling here. And it was kind of hitting a support. So it's not quite a triple test till you get to about here, but I counted it as potential triple test. There was too many assumptions I was making that made the trade A little riskier, but again, in real time, it looked like it was a decent setup to me. Price then continue moving, starts moving on this green up channel, breaks out. It starts moving into the pre-market range. So on a larger tick chart, this could be seen as a failed breakout and prices could be moving back in. It's just congested right here. Nothing particularly good. First entry long. Technically you have a second entry long, but it's below the EMA. You don't really have anything going on, so it's kind of middle of nowhere. Prices then continue moving down. It's congested here again. There's this support that I see here. So I drew this as support. I put this resistance up here, but at times I was playing it down here. Then I moved it up, and I moved it up. When it flashed up to here, that's when I dragged it up to here. And the midline happened to meet pretty well as a potential mini mid resistance. There's a new low here, first entry short, second entry short. It's not a good signal bar to go short here. Definitely when we see it reverse, it's not a failed second entry short because you're going to run into the top of this range. Prices then kind of reverse, start shooting back down. You have a new low, first entry short. It's a little bit noisy. Technically, you have a second entry short here, but it's too far from the setup. It looks like it's moving sideways now. It is consolidating. You do have a new high, first entry long pullback, second entry long. You could count this as a reset count and then this first entry long, but there's no second entry long. What I did mark this just indicator for myself, because watching this in real time, I was thinking I had this trend resistance here, and this might have been a trade if this candle here wasn't so large and it hit the EMA and reversed down strongly. But also I was concerned that there was a support here. So although I saw this in real time, I'm not really sure there is a decent setup of any kind here, but it was something that got me a little anxious. And I think my trigger finger, had I been on a different day or not thinking as well, probably might have taken this trade. So it's kind of a note to myself that when I see this, I'd be more patient. There's no real clean setup, no clear bias. Prices then continue moving down. I drew this orange down channel, consolidates, nothing particularly nice. There is a new low, first entry short, second entry short, but it didn't touch the EMA. It's a little ambiguous. It's not as clean, leaving it alone. Prices then chop around, hits another consolidation trading range again. There's nothing too clear here. There's a new low, first entry short. Technically, you have a second entry short here. And you could argue it could be a second entry short failure. After you see this double bottom, it's still a second entry short. It hasn't failed yet. I'm abandoning all ideas of going short and definitely not thinking of going long yet because the overall bias of the day is very strongly bearish. So to suddenly think I'm catching the bottom and having it reverse is a little bit, I would say, optimistic. Chops around, gets noisy, and it breaks down through the bottom. Starts moving down on this yellow down channel. It starts reversing up. It starts moving up on this orange up channel, and this is getting pretty late in the day now. So I'm pretty much putting my thoughts of taking a trade to rest at this point because it's getting it gets really volatile, especially on a day like today where it's the last day of the month, the last day of the quarter. That makes me super extra cautious that, I shouldn't be ambitious, especially since my previous trade was a loss. As you can see, it moves in the last 10 minutes. It gets pretty choppy and whippy. So there's a nice, I saw a decent setup maybe right here where it's a break. One attempt up, pull back. This could be the second attempt up right here. Unfortunately, this wasn't a good signal bar. Pushes up. I saw this higher low and I thought there was potentially a setup here for at least a 1 point scalp because the first entry long, second entry long, higher low, coming from the bottom of the range, wants to test the top. I was kind of taking a mental trade. I think I would have tried to enter at the same highs as here. Looks like it would have opened here, filled me, and then given me the scalp. But that's neither here nor there because I didn't take the trade. I'm just playing a mind game. Prices then continue moving down. It's moving in the last 5 minutes. As you can see, there's a lot of candles printed in the last 10 minutes, but nothing worth trading because it gets too volatile. So it's kind of how I saw the charts today. Unfortunately, I took this loss, and this first trade wasn't even the best one. It was a little aggressive. The second trade, I didn't see it. I didn't see it for what it was. It was a little unclear, and in real time, I think I got confused. So hopefully that was helpful.